would like to discuss the power of DPS to overcome mechanics that you can't do. Yes, friends, rejoice with me when that occasion occurs, when you simply just can't do it. But what you can do is nuke it so hard that it never does it. And that's a thumbs up. That is a thumbs up. It was a glorious day. I was dreading coming back to do the... I don't even really know its name. In the book, it's listed as the primordial worm, but when you pull it, it's called the eidolon worm, the something of the primordial soup. It's the abyss boss. The abyss boss down there. It's another worm, which is, sadly, as I now discovered, not the end of the worms. They do love their worms. They do love their worms. But it was the third to last boss we had to do. And I think it's technically optional, but it's, you know, we're doing them all. So it is what it is. But I had tested this just before on Friday, right? This was like my Monday investigation, or Thursday. And I was dreading it because it had a mechanic that I just know is just beyond my caveman hands, and all you have to do is move in circles. That's it. It had to be in just a nice smooth circle. It just forms a concentric pattern of bullets, and you've got to weave round, and you have to do it for a while. I will say this, I did do it a couple of times. I did pull it off, but I just knew and suspected in my heart of hearts that it was just going to do it again and again, and I was just going to screw up. And I was either going to throw like 100 pulls at mastering this little rotation, until while doing a pull, I happened to stay a little bit closer to the boss because I was getting more comfortable with like the lead into it, right? Which means I do significantly more damage. So ranged damage dealers do way more damage if they're up close. And it didn't do it. It bypassed the phase. And I went, ooh, interesting. And what's even more interesting about this boss is its mechanics outside of that, at least of what I'd seen in the first like 30% of the boss, are really easy to take 0 damage from. You stand still and it just doesn't hit you unless you like slightly mispositioned. But if you're like in the right place, it just can't hit you. It does all this fancy bullet spray and quick swaps, but it leaves the face of it empty, which I noticed pretty early. And also it shoots up out the ground with very well telegraphed laser pointers and markings. And so you just don't stand there and you don't take any damage. So I was like, more and more this game in Inferno mode has made the ability to reduce damage or have defense be less and less relevant. That kind of came in Devourer of Gods. Like if he hits you, you can survive, but you're pretty screwed if anything else touches you at any point in the fight. And it just became less and less relevant, and doing more damage was just far superior a technique. It just meant you had to play better, which I guess is intentional. And so on this fight, I was like, what if we just went actual balls to the wall damage? Now, because we're fighting in the Abyss, there's certain bits of gear we have to wear, like the Abyss diving suit, otherwise you can't breathe. But this also means that you move more freely in water. And then it dawned on me, it's like, we don't even really need to fly. I don't need to ram dash. And these have been staple items that you had to have equipped. Because, of course, you need to fly against every other boss. And, of course, you need the ability to ram dash because things just like Yaron and the Devourer of Gods just charge through you. So I was like, I can ditch those and actually put in just pure DPS items. So I boosted my damage through the roof, like balls to the wall. I drank like tequila sunrises and moonshine. These gave you like 10% more crits, more damage, just flat damage percentage modifiers, all this kind of stuff, and reforged everything to pure damage. So I did significantly more damage. What happened? Consistently just never had to do the circle phase. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. It just bypassed it entirely, and then led me to another issue later down the line, because it does have a second phase where it does other stuff. But I was murdering the boss, like absolutely murdering the boss. But the next phase, you just had to do, again, circles to avoid these like lasers that charges across the room and then he charges around. And now, because I had no wings and nothing else, I was so slow. Just insanely slow on movement. And this then became a problem. What a mechanic that is so trivial in normal gear now became like a problem. So I looked at mounts. I used like Duke Fishron's mount. I used a different mount because they were actually faster than my character. But ultimately, that was just less maneuverable, less wiggly. And it was like, this isn't quite working. So I thought, I just have to learn to do this while being like in soil, essentially. Because it's just not working out for me. So I was like, okay, I'll figure this out. And then I discovered something else. Now, I have intentionally, much to like some people's annoyance, but I hope you're with me on this, I have intentionally used the standard game health bar, because then I don't get, I have seen it now in checking out some runs of bosses I've already done, that the Infernum health bar, or Calamity health bar, actually shows you how many phases the fight has. It has these like notches that show you how many phases the fight has before you do anything else. And I don't like that. I want to discover phases. I like the mystery. I like all that kind of stuff. So I've been just using, 100% to 0, where if you have the proper boss mod for boss bar for the mod, it'll go like, there's 100 to 0, but then it'll clear a notch and now you're in phase 2. But what I noticed is the phase transitions. And this is part of learning and part of the thing I enjoy. I was like, I can see that it does a phase transition. I think it's at 50%. And if it does that, it actually goes back because it hasn't technically phase transitioned yet. And it will repeat the really easy mechanic where you stand still. And you could do an absolute buttload of damage during that. Because once he starts that mechanic, he's not like a boss that's like, oh, you hit the health threshold, I need to change phase. Once he begins that mechanic, he has to finish it. He's like locked into the animation. And so I modified my style again. I kept Rage available, Adrenaline if I had it, which I don't think I did. But I had Rage, which is another damage boost. And then got to like 53, 54%. I'm gauging it just off the position of the health bar and the normal one, and then just stopped damage. I just waited. And the second he went into this like easy phase, I blasted the boss so hard. Like his health just evaporated. I went, just murdered into him. And to the point where it got to the actual phase that had been a little bit of a struggle and lagging along, he had like 10% health left. Annoyingly, though, I actually thought it was another phase. He takes forever to die, but I had seen this animation on the Devourer of God, so I was like, I'm pretty sure he's dead. Not sure. And then he died off, and that was another boss down, leaving just 2. What's interesting is there's 3 listings left in the journal, the boss journal. However, I believe one of them is probably the boss rush, because the worm gave me the item to start boss rush, which I assume is just every boss in the game. So I was like, okay, so that's probably what it is, and there's 2 bosses left. Now, upon some recommendation, but also what I'd already found, because I don't know what the last boss is, but my chat was understandably saying, like, either of these bosses is the last boss. Like, you can do them in either order. There's no more gear to get. Either of these is the way to go. But there was one I knew about, which was the exomechs. So that's what we're doing first, because I don't know what the last boss is. The boss that's after. But these last 2 are considered the finale bosses. And so it was time to learn the exomechs. Good God. We really are at the point in the game where they're like, screw you. You've made it this far. Screw you. We're just going to blow the screen up constantly. So, to give you some explanation for those of you who've not played Infernum, the exomechs is a different style of boss in that you have to fight 3 bosses in one encounter, but you get to choose the order in which they appear. So, there's a worm, shockingly. Then there's the giant robot that appears at the top of the screen. And then the third one is 2 sort of laser eyeballs, similar to what you fight in the base version of the game. I don't know their names. They're called the twins, but basically modified versions of those. And whichever one you start with first, you get all of its mechanics. And then at like 50%, the other bosses will start joining the fight. And the first boss will stay, but he will reduce his mechanics while you're dealing with the other boss. And then we have had it, at least on this prog, where the third one appears. And then you have all of them. And then probably like some mega face coming after it. So the logical approach I took to this was like learn each one. Because I don't want to be surprised when the next one appears. And also we can kind of figure out an order we want to do this. Maybe the robot is easiest, so we want to do the robot and then maybe have the eyes appear, maybe have the worm appear, and so on and so forth. And so I was working through these, learning them. Interestingly enough, I made probably a tactical error here based on what I saw was happening, but either couldn't pull it off myself or it was more complicated than I thought it was going to be. The worm was kind of fine. Did worm stuff, and I've got obviously hundreds of pulls behind me on the Devourer of Gods, so that was fine. He has got new mechanics, but ultimately not too bad. The eyes were just an absolute nightmare. The eyes are horrible. They are constantly just throwing grenades at you. They're baiting you. You've got to swish around. You've got to be all over the place. They have mechanics where you've got to kite back and forth. Did start getting comfortable with it. Started transferring, but I was like, these are definitely way harder. The one that I thought was the easiest was the robot, and the reason was extremely well telegraphed because he has a variety of weapons, and they glow and give you an indication of what's going to be coming. So if you learn each weapon, and then it does combinations of them. So it's like, okay, if he does the blue one, he's going to fire this net trap thing that you can guide out the way of. If he does like purple, that's going to be locked onto you, so you've got to dodge out the way. And then this one does this and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, that feels like the easiest to me, because you actually get quite a warm-up as to what's going in. So I spent most of my time working out the robot, and then I did the worm second, because the worm was fine, and the idea was to do the eyes last, because they're the hardest, so ideally we just blast them, and if we get through that, we kind of win, was my thought process. So make it more consistent to get to the end, and then get the one that takes us over the line, right? That was kind of my thought process. This didn't work, and it really annoyed me. It's annoyed me all weekend. It's Monday today. It really annoyed me all weekend, because I never got this clean, and it really bugged me, because I knew how to counter everything it did, yet sometimes it was just ever so slightly different. Ever so slightly different. It does a thing where it does like giant swords that would shoot out laser beams, and on 4 out of 5 pulls, you can just sort of dash to the right, and you can stand still and nuke the boss. And then on the 5th one, it doesn't work. It's inconsistent, so you've got to do it somewhere else. The laser can sometimes, you get a triple, which means you kind of need to go to the right, but also back to the left, and that means you've got to jump around and stuff like that. More importantly, though, was just the spinning laser. This was really frustrating. Really frustrating. It actually changes in phase 2, which is why I'm probably going to change things. But it's really quick, and it also fires homing missiles during it. So it's not just a case of spin around in a circle. You have to go out and back in, because you have homing missiles chasing you at the time. You can't just simply stay in the gap. Even if that was the case, though, the obvious thing is, as soon as you see a mechanic like this, is to stay close to the boss. We do this all the time in any other video game. Is like, oh, something's spinning that's coming out the boss. You stay close to the boss, you move the shortest distance. Yet, with the homing lasers, you can't do that. And also, the rotation speed was so fast, even with the maximum speed items I have, certainly in terms of wings, I couldn't keep up with it. And at certain points, I was dashing and dashing. I even drafted in the King's Slime saddle, because that makes you descend extraordinarily quickly, which was better, but still really tricky. And it bothered me a lot. I couldn't figure this out. So I think I made a blunder there, because what actually happens if you start with Worm and then get the robot is he still does the spinning laser, but it lasts a lot longer, but it's way more consistent. Way more consistent, and it appears to just move slower, so it's totally fine. So I'm probably going to switch that up today. But this is just a cluster. I can't even express to you, unless you've played this, how much has been tacked onto it to make what you're focused on the less relevant thing. And you go through this interesting progress in Infernum, at least, where you have this very obvious murder you mechanic, and you have to get used to that, because your focus, you need to be able to do that second nature, because your focus is actually on other things that are happening at the same time. So, for example, even though the laser spin is slower, the worm is circling you and also shooting into the gaps that you're in with bullets, which are a little inconsistent, to be honest. So you're like, okay, I need to circle with this giant laser and keep my position just so. And at the same time, you're like, I'm dead anyway. And it's because the worm is shooting bullets into the gaps to get you at the same time. You're like, oh my God. So brutal. The same with the eyes. You're like, okay, it has this machine gun laser, which you can dodge around. But at the same time, it's also lobbing out grenades from the other one that just do massive AoE. And so you'll be dodging to a place. It's like, oh, there's a grenade there, and you don't have the ability to get, so much of it. But we are at the, like, balls to the wall section of this game. This is it. This is the most difficult challenge it's going to throw at me without installing yet another mod, which then turns it up to, I don't know, 25. From the 11 it's at now up to 25, which we're not going to do. But I think I can do it. I've been thinking about it all weekend. So I'm hoping that next time we speak, we're on whatever the final boss or our final boss will be. Because, like I said, either of these could be the final boss. It's a war. But remember, DPS is king. Always. Bye, guys.